So the concept of class is very important for the OpenFOAM, because you know that in C++ everything, I think whatever thing you are using is generally the object. That's why it is important to understand that what is the class. Okay. So class means that there are different objects and you are classifying into this particular class, and that is the called the class. So for example, here are the peacock, pigeons, crow, hen and eagle. So if you want to classify this different object in a particular group, so you can say that these things are the birds. So the for these objects, you can say that the bird is a class for this objects here. So if you asked that what are the characteristics, you can say that their legs, their color and their breed are the some characteristics of the class of this class. Similarly, if someone asks you that what is the method, so they generally speak, they fly, they eat. So these are the method. So the classes have two things, that is the characteristics and second is the method. Similarly, if I talk about the horse, cow, lion and cat, so you can classify these all objects into the group that is the animals. So animal is the class for these objects and they have characteristics like the legs, color and breed. And the method you can see there that they also speak, they cannot fly. That is the method that does not fit for this characteristics and they eat. Okay, so these are the characteristics, these are the methods. Yes, so I have created a folder with the name of the understanding the class. Now I am opening this folder in the terminal. I can create one add, I can create one app, home new app, and let is written as a class one. Okay, so we have created the class one. Now I can go to the folder. So if I open this folder, again I am just removing these things because we are not going to use for now. So first let's create an class. Three kind of members are there. Okay. So like private members are there. Similarly, like some of the variables are the public and some of the variables are the protected. So private members are the members which are only accessible within the members of the class. So what are the members of the class that can access the private members? Now the protected members are that which are also accessible with the members of the same class, but sometimes it happens that the class is being derived uh, into some other class. So the derived class can also access these members, which is the protected members. Okay, so there is slightly difference between the private and protected member. Now public member, it can be accessed from anywhere. So here in public, members can be accessible from anywhere if the class is available here. Okay. Now note that by default the members are private. We have to specify that whether we want to declare it is a public or protected by specifying it. Okay. Now let's take an examples and create one class. Then the concept will be more clear. So we are going to create a class for uh, calculate the pressure drop through a pipe. So we can write the equation as the del P. So let's create class pressure calc. The syntax is like that. Now we are going to declare some variable. So let's take example of private. So even if I will not write here private. It is by default going to take every variables as a private, but let's keep naming it also. And we are going to declare some variable as a public also. So for example, I can take some variable like scalar. So we are going to need mu q. So maybe you can calculate q using the u. So we are taking the velocity u, le length. So we are going to take length, and also we are going to need the diameter. So these variables we have created as a private member. Now since I told you that if you want to use this private members, then we have to you can access through only the members of the class only. So these variables if you want to use, then you have to assign in the class only. So I can create one method. So functions in class is called as the method. So I can write as the void, and I can create a method that is set values, where we are going to take scalar specified by the users. So I can take scalar, suppose x, and I can copy this scalar x, y. Maybe I can specify as ABCD. That will be better. So I have created a method. Definition either I can write here only, or I can write in the outside the class only. So now since I am calling this method out of the class, so we have to also specify the designation here. Okay, so we have to say that I want to call this method from the class of the pressure cal. So I can again write it here again. So you don't need to write here ABC. So you can just write that what is the type of the variables you want to use. If you are going to specify the definition of the method outside the class, then you don't need to write it here. Okay. But if you are writing here the definition, then you need to specify the variables ABCD here. Okay. So I just copy these things from here and paste it here. So I can write that is A. Now the definition I can write. So I want to set the method of the mu equal to A. I want to set the method mu equal to A. I want to set u equal to, that is the B. I want to set len length equal to, that is the C. And of course at the last the dia I want to set equal to D. So this is the definition of the method. Okay, so you can write outside the class also and in the class also. So for example, we want to calculate the value of the flow rate. Maybe I can create a method of some kind. So I can write is scalar, and suppose we want to calculate the flow rate, and now definition I am going to write here. Okay, so this definition I am going to write in the class only. Okay, you can write out of the class like I write here, but here you can write in the class. So I'm just giving an example. So for example, we can create an area. So area equal to pi, that is a 3.44 pi by 4 multiply g to the power whole square. Okay, so you can use the power method. So that is the dia. So this power POW is used to take a square or cube root of any given number. That I want that function will return a scalar, and the scalar is the flow rate value. So I can write here as a return, and flow rate is equal to u multiply into area. Okay, so it is going to return the flow rate we have got. Now we can calculate the pressure. So I will create a member which is a public, we can set a method, so that is going to give the pressure value. Okay, now here I also am going to write the definition in the class only. As you use the formula written above, so that should be equal to 128 multiply mu. So mu definition we have defined using the set value, multiply q. Q we have calculated. So here you can just call this function flow rate. So we can call the flow rate function that is going to use in this function, that is the pressure cal. It will automatically give the value of the flow rate into length. So length we have defined. This values has been divided by pi, that is the 3.14 multiply by pow into dia comma 4. So we want to take the 4 power of this, and then we can put the semicolon. So remember that we need to put here, that is a semicolon, here also semicolon. Okay, so this class definition has been created. So we have created some private member. Now we private member can be accessed through the some method in the public. These values are used for calculating the flow rate, and then finally we can calculate the pressure. Okay, now let's create one class of this type. So we can create one class pressure cal. Okay, so now I'm taking one object of this class is the p. Okay, so this is class, we are creating one object of this class, that is the p. Now we can set the values here. So we can call the p dot set values. So we can set values as the, we can take as the e to the power minus 5, and the second value is the b. So we can relate from here, that is the velocity. So you can take as a 2.0. Second one is a c, that is the length. So that we can take it as the 0.1 or 0.2, that is the 20 centimeter. Next we can take the dia. So dia we can take as a suppose 3 centimeter or 3 mm we can take. So we have set the values of what is the mu, u, and length and dia. Now if you want to print the pressure drop, so we can call the pressure drop is, we can call this pressure well function. Okay, so the method of the p dot, we can call this pressure well. This method is going to return the value here. Okay, so I can clean first. So you can see here that we have compiled the solver here. Now we can run the value, and you can see here that we are getting the values that is the 1.4 Okay, so this is the one way of declaring the class. Now, sometime what happens, user can call this pressure well function before calling the this set values. Okay, suppose someone is calling that p dot pressure value before calling the dot set value, then obviously it is going to show an error. Why it is going to show an error? Because this set values has not been set. Okay, so in such case, there is another concept of the constructor. You can define a constructor with the same name. This is also like a function. We can define as a pressure cal, and we can write everything whatever written here. Okay, so these things we have defined similar to the set values. Now we can also explain the definition here. Again copying it, and I am going to printing it. Okay, now here again I am write this pressure cal. So this is the definition of the this constructor. This is the similar to the functions we have set the set values. This is the constructor. So again, if I call, again I can create the same object, that is the p. Now I don't need to the call this set value. I just directly create an object here by specifying these values. Okay, and now I can print this method. Okay, so this is the calculating the value and printing the value. Okay, so I don't need to call this set values. So suppose user forget to set the values, then earlier it was going to show the error, but now if user can create the object anywhere which is by specifying the values, and he can call the pressure well method. So we can again w clean and w make. Oh, this white should be not here. When you are giving the definition of the construction, this type return type should not be specified here. Now you can see that it is running. And again, if I run the class name, so the same value we are getting, which we were getting earlier. Okay, so this is the concept of the constructor. Now there is another concept of the constructor overloading, similar to the concept of the uh, function overloading. There is a concept of the constructor. Sometimes what happens that user don't specify the value of the different variable. So by default we can give some values. This is the null constructor we are getting. So sometimes user don't specify the value from its side, so we can create one constructor and we can specify some values from the our side. So like 1 e to the power minus 6, some velocity we can give 1 meter per second, length we can give 0.055, and we can give that 0.002. So these values were given by default. So if sometimes what happens, user just create a constructor without giving any value. So suppose someone is created a p1, that is the another constructor, and his he want to calculate the pressure for this. So if we don't give the null constructor, it is going to show error. But that is why we have created different kind of constructor. Okay, so here you can see that this is one constructor, this is one another constructor. So whatever kind of object if user is creating, so out of these two constructor which is suitable, it is going to take that object. Okay, now here we can run this. Sorry, this should be w clean all. Now I can run w make. We have to create the class like this. Okay, now you can run the your application. So you can see here that these two methods are working fine. Thank you to all of you for watching this video.